So I wanted to share my dreams of Lunc that I had, and these were many years ago. And I asked for a dream on Lunc because back in 23, because a lot of people got hurt from what happened at FTX and all this stuff, and I didn't want to reinvest into Lunc and all that. And I'm like, Lord, I'm seeing all this. I see all these people having these other dreams about Lunc, all this type thing. Should I should I invest? And then he gave me this dream 3 times in one night. So, and like if you're reading the book of Daniel, where he talks about if you have a dream twice, the Lord will establish that thing. So he gave it to me 3 times. I was like, okay, Lord, I got the message. But yeah, I had this dream back in 23. Or without further ado, let's get into it real quick. So on here, what I'm going to talk about is a vending machine, dairy gold milk, and semiconductor wafers, and a pot of wafers specifically. And just so you guys get some clarification, for those that don't know what a semiconductor wafer is, or a pot of wafers, the pot is all of them together, about usually around 25 to 26, depending on how the manufacturing thing is. But these are where computer chips, they're all designed computer chips on one silicon wafer. So you'll find these computer chips like in your phone, computers, servers. They're everywhere now, the semiconductor industry. So in this dream, I see a parking garage, and it's kind of dark on the outer edges, and the inner edges where the vending machine and everything is. It's bright and lit up at the time. And I walk up to the vending machine. I push some buttons at the time on it. I can't remember what those buttons were. I wish I did. I wish I remember. I really wish I would remembered. Because the Lord is so multifaceted in dreams. It's fun, to solve those little mysteries out at times and see how he plays together, how he knits it and puts it all together. I think it's just awesome. But I pulled out dairy gold milk, and I find this actually very, very fascinating that I got dairy gold milk out first because the first thing that actually started running was gold. Last year. And remember, this dream is several years ago. I actually sent it to some people back in 24 time frame. It was actually Marcus walk his way, or this his way, um, because it pertains to one of his dreams too that he had, and I'll get into that here in a little bit. Um, but yeah, I pulled out gold, dairy gold first, milk. Um, and I think that's not an accident either, and we'll get into that here shortly too. Now, afterwards, I pulled out the dairy gold milk. I pushed 048, and then I pulled out a pot of wafers. And those are the semiconductor wafers. And I knew that represented Lunc and other cryptos at the time too. I knew there were some other cryptos, but the majority that I knew at the time, it dealt with Lunc. I was happy. I got this pot of wafers out. And then at the time, all of a sudden, I had a bunch of other Christians and other people actually surround me, and they pull out their flashlight, and they're shining their flashlights from their phones onto me and the pot of wafers at the time. And we're all happy and we're celebrating. There was darkness around us at the time that was going on in the dream, but we were all safe and we're happy. We're all in the light at the time during this part. And so, yeah, I didn't understand this several years ago. But now it's kind of making some sense, right? Because then I took the pot of wafers, which I knew represented Lunc and other cryptos at the time, and I put them back into the vending machine. And then that's actually when I woke up. So it makes sense now because Lunc is a seed coin that we're going to be putting it back in, and then we're trying to get other nutrition and other things to sustain us. Just like now, it's a seed coin, so I'm going to be reinvesting it, putting it back into the machine to go into the next buckets. Now, after seeing my dream and going through it, here's some interesting things that I found out about it. Is that milk is mentioned 48 times, the same thing that I pushed on the button in the dream, which I found was very interesting. The other thing in the Strong's Concordance about 48, it means purify or purify oneself, a ceremonial to make pure, cleanse. I thought that was really, really interesting too. And then the other thing about the 48 pushing 48 too is like when I actually sent this dream to Marcus, walk this way, because when his dream, if you remember in the elevator thing, he got out on the 48th floor. Um, and he thought that was Bitcoin at the time, was it representing the elevator. And we've several prophetic voices out there right now are talking about how the market will be falling and Link will be going up. So I don't know if this correlates with that too. It just seems so multifaceted. It's really interesting seeing how all this is all playing out. And then I know I talked about this previously on another video with Jacqueline, and that was where I sowed some silver in September time frame. 5 months later, in December starts taking off. I sold some Lunc in December, and then like 5 months later, it seems like it's starting to take off now. I find that kind of interesting in the pattern. I did sow some, just so you guys know, I sowed some dinar. I talked about too, and that was in February and in March in multiple groups there. So I'm kind of curious that would put it in January and August. Then if that same pattern pulls out, I'm just kind of curious. It's just awesome to seeing what the Lord is doing. And he doesn't have to follow my timeline by any means. I just find it interesting, and I love to follow the fingerprints of the Lord in this. So, yeah, and just a little extra information just to share with people.